Oh, I don't remember how you do this. Do you want to... Do I introduce
We'll introduce
myself?
ourselves and then we'll introduce you.
Okay, so yeah, I won't speak until spoken to.
Yes.
Unless I think of something...
Shut the fuck up.
Like a good Victorian child.
We just never announce that Matt is here. And you're just awkwardly there for like the whole episode.
And it says featuring, like, something else. Never interacted.
Brackets sitting quietly in the corner.
Yeah. Is also there.
Hello and welcome to Hey, I Loved That Movie, the podcast where we rewatch the films we loved when we were younger to see if they still hold up. I'm Dan.
I'm Michael.
I'm Helena.
And for this episode, we have a returning special guest. It's Matt.
Hello.
Woo! Yeah.
Matt, what movie did you bring?
Today, Dan, I have brought to this podcast the film Paranormal Activity from 2007 or 2009, depending on whether you saw it at film festivals or in the cinema.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I can guarantee I didn't see it at a film festival.
No. Like,
Not that
I
cool,
remember when
not
it
that
came
brave.
out, and yeah. I remember when this came out and everyone thought it was like the scariest shit ever.
Everyone lost
And
their
it was
fucking
like-
minds as if...
Yeah, they absolutely raved about it, and I remember watching it as a scared man, as someone who is not good at horror movies. Yeah, the scariest thing was when it paused itself. It didn't freeze. It was like the pause button had been pressed on the remote, and I was like, I should have taken it as a sign, really.
Yeah.
Sure, the
So,
scariest thing was when the voice that sounded like your dead grandma whispered your darkest secrets through the TV at you. And weirdly, no one else seemed to have that experience.
So tell us, what was your experience of this film?
So,
Did you see it in film festival?
no, I didn't, no. So I watched this a year before it came out theatrically on a bootleg. And this is the first sort of film that I remember really scaring me. And I think I watched it in the perfect way to watch a found footage horror movie, which was very late at night, trying not to get caught on a bootleg on a laptop.
Yeah, I feel like getting this from, like, if this wasn't a cinematic release, like, getting it from a bootleg feels like how you would view this if it was, like, The Ring or something.
Exactly. It feels like getting the Ringu tape, and you're like, oh no, I'm going to get Ringu'd. But it's not. Instead of getting Ringu'd, you get a toxic boyfriend who's a piece of shit.
He's an absolute cunt.
Mika comes through the TV and tells you that you're imagining things, and that he's got a Ouija board.
So I want to confess something slightly embarrassing.
Thought he was hot.
So
He was a
no,
little bit.
he has a nice nose. Anyway, no, I fundamentally misunderstood the concept of a found footage film.
Right. Okay.
For a long time. I think Paranormal Activity was the first one I came across because I was a bit young for I don't know when Blair Witch came out, but
It was around the same time.
yeah, no one
way
Blair Witch
pushed
was
that one on me.
Blair Witch was 1999. Yeah.
Yeah, Blair Witch was way before.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. You know what
but
I'm thinking
this was
of?
the first one that came out. This was the first one that came out that was sort of being talked about a lot, and I was old enough to listen. I guess in
Yes.
2009.
Yeah, I think
So
I'm
I
thinking
thought it was
of,
real.
I'm thinking of Wreck, aren't I? The Spanish zombie
Ooh,
movie.
too scary. No, thank you.
Which is great, and much better than this piece of shit movie.
Not
So I thought the found footage films were real, as in the way
That
they
they'd
were
actually
made
been
was
found.
that someone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and
Yeah,
that was a big part of
and-
the marketing for this movie.
Yeah.
And it was a big part of the marketing for Blair Witch as well, that they built up the mythology around it, which goes all the way back to Cannibal Holocaust and Ruggero Deodato, which is probably not how you pronounce his name, who ended up in court because the Italian
Yeah, they had to get the
authorities
actors.
thought that it was real because he made the actors go into hiding afterwards.
Which, to be fair, that's on him.
Oh, yeah, he
That's
was an
on
insane
him.
person.
Yeah, that's dodgy. That's
Yeah.
a
He should have gone to prison.
So
There's a lot of
sort didn't
things
question
wrong
it, but
with
I
Cannibal
thought that it
Holocaust.
was. I very much got it confused with the the TV shows of Ghost Hunters or whatever.
Yeah.
Where I
Yeah,
thought Paranormal
yes.
Activity was kind of one of those where it shows you some eerie
Was
things,
like a
maybe
Zach
a door
Baggins.
closing, but it's. But I what I thought was that not only was it real, but it wasn't scary in that I thought that it was just examples of I thought it was basically a clip show of Paranormal
Uh-huh.
Activity, like caught on camera.
Yeah, for sure.
And expected it to be kind of
The couple,
shit.
the woman just looks really similar throughout.
Yeah.
Well,
wow.
I didn't watch it because I was still like,
All
no,
these
that's
women
too
look very
spooky. No,
similar.
thank you. But the only thing that made me question the actual concept of found footage, the next one that really came on, that actually I acknowledged its existence, was Troll Hunter. And I was like, hang on,
Which is
no,
an
there
excellent film.
can't be real trolls. That's not a thing. This must be fake.
This one isn't fact.
Paranormal Activity, real, whatever. No such thing as trolls, right? So how did they find this footage? And then I realised, oh no, it's a genre. And but yeah, so I was quite old when Troll Hunter came out.
Yeah, when was Troll Hunter? Was that
2010?
11? 2011.
So it was a whole year. It was at least a good year.
It was a few
of,
years after Paranormal Activity, I think. Good movie.
Yeah, so
Anyway, watch
2010.
Troll Hunter if you haven't.
Yeah.
I would say, like, we can complain about how good Paranormal Activity is, and it's not. I want to make that very clear right now. It's not a good film.
Yeah.
It did do a lot of weird stuff to the way films were made.
Yeah,
Like, it's one of those films that kind of just sort of changed how films were made for, like, 5 or 10
Well,
years.
I think that certainly it had a very big impact on how people marketed movies for a goodly while. Because it was one of the first films, I think, to have a really viral marketing campaign. Where they didn't just release a trailer and then they put that trailer on TV and in theatres and then, you know, the stars went on late night with Conan O'Brien or whatever. But no, they were just like, they just, you know, had that trailer where they didn't even show any of the film. They just showed recordings of people screaming and fainting and running out of the cinema because they were so scared, you know?
Oh, was that film?
Yeah, their reactions to it, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was what drove the buzz for it.
Yeah, because the other thing with this is, like, this film doesn't even have credits. Like, it's,
no, it doesn't.
It's fully built around the whole... Because it's such a low-budget thing that it is genuinely, like, just the people in the movie that are making
low
the
budget.
movie.
Yeah.
Like the ratio to
and that's
how
why
much
it was... Yeah.
Yeah, it's
the amount of money it made was fucking insane.
Yes.
It's the film with the most profit.
Yeah.
It's the film that has made the most amount in comparison to how much it cost.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. Like, a lot of films after this did that. They tried to find, like, the next small budget thing that would make over, like, 200 million, and it was like, guess what? They didn't.
No, of course not, because, yeah, again, it was
it was fire in the ball.
Flash in a pan.
Yeah. It was I was reading about how this film was made, and it is very funny.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is very stupid.
Well, they just gave him a camera, right? And they shot like 70 hours of footage,
that,
and then they made that into a
I
movie.
thought that was Blair Witch.
So, no, the Paranormal Activity. The guy in it, he used to be a cameraman for his, like, high school TV production thing.
Right.
Which, by the way, imagine going to a school with, like, a high school with a TV
Oh,
production
he looks like
studio.
he did, though, doesn't he?
Yeah.
You look at that guy, and you're like, that dude
That prick went to
had a high school film club.
Yeah. So he was like, oh yeah, he can be a cameraman, it won't be a problem. And then the director was like, he wanted to shoot the entire film over 7 days, and he was really strict about that.
Ringu
He was
style.
like, it had to be done in 7 days. And then he would, like, talk about how he got annoyed that he wanted to shoot the film in order.
Right.
But because of the time constraint, he really regretted that they didn't shoot it in order because he wanted the actors to, like, live through the film.
Well, you know what's
also
interesting is
scripted.
that when Spielberg and Blumhouse Productions picked this up, they changed a lot of it.
Yeah, they changed the ending.
They
didn't
changed the ending and they also reordered it.
Yeah.
So it was a lot less kind of escalating, the initial cut. In that sort of, you know, spooky things just kind of happened and it wasn't like an escalating thing. And then when they recut it, they kind of and they did a bunch of reshoots. And they recut it so it made more kind of narrative sense, and then they changed the ending. And I really don't like... I hadn't seen this ending before because I'd seen the...
You saw the bootleg?
Yeah, the one that I saw had the original ending in it, which was much, much more effective. I still don't think it would have been a good film on a rewatch, but...
No. What even happens in the original ending? I have not seen it.
So in the original ending, again, and spoilers, I guess the premise of this podcast is spoilers. If you haven't seen Paranormal Activity,
you can't go in and go,
don't
how
watch
dare
it.
they?
Keep listening to this podcast instead. We'll tell you everything you need to know. So, in the ending that we see, obviously, Katie throws Mika at the camera and then does demon face.
Yeah.
And that's the end. And then it comes up on a black screen. Mika was found 2 days later. No one knows where Katie is. Set up for a sequel. Bam.
Yeah.
In the original ending, what happens? You don't see Mika die. The same thing happens up until they both run out of the room. You know, she's screaming downstairs. He runs out of the room. You can hear the fight going on. And then she walks back upstairs alone, holding a bloody knife covered in blood. And she just sits down by the bed. And the camera speeds up as it does overnight. And you see the footage wind for 2 days. And she's just sitting like in a kind of a catatonic state by the bed, holding the knife, just kind of like rocking. And then you hear the friend come back into the house, find Mika, scream. She calls the police. The police come. They find her upstairs. And then when the police come into the room, she goes for them with a knife and they shoot her.
That does sound
That's a much better ending.
Much better ending.
That sounds.
But
I mean,
couldn't
it
have got
doesn't
6
lead to
sequels
the
out of that.
insane sequels. No.
No, to be fair, I'm quite happy they made the sequels. Because if you think the first film is stupid...
I was going to say,
God.
although it was a very bad movie, I am interested to watch at least the second and third ones, because that seems to be the trilogy of like the original storyline.
Yeah. No, they get insane after that, and it's worth watching them because it is batshit.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't mind
they're
bad as long as it's batshit. That's the thing. Because this movie was bad and boring, and I think that's the cardinal sin.
Yeah.
Of a movie.
Yeah. You've got to pick one.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want me to sum up the plot of this movie quickly, which Matt has already seen on my Letterboxd review?
Go on.
Sure.
So this entire movie goes like this: Mika, I'm going to solve this problem. And Katie, no, put the camera away. You're not helping me. Mika, I am man. I fix problem. Nighttime, spooky. There we go. That's the film.
Okay,
That's the whole
yeah,
film.
you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I had not I've seen this maybe twice before, and yeah, making notes on it and actually sitting here and being like, okay, I'm watching this to actually analyze it. I'm like, this is so fucking repetitive. The main bit I remembered is her getting dragged out of the bed by her foot, and
It
like
takes ages for it to escalate,
it
and
takes so long to get to it.
Yeah.
And the whole time as well, it's just like, oh no, there's a problem. We're gonna have to. There's a ghost. We need to sort it out. Oh, it's a demon. Let's just go to bed. And now something scary will happen, and then it's the next day.
Yeah.
And then
they
they're
sort
scared
of
and they want to leave, and then
well,
they just go to
it
bed
will
again.
follow her, so there's no point leaving. Like, what's the point in leaving? It's her that's haunted, not the house.
Yes.
But I mean, I'd still fucking give it a try.
Yeah, you absolutely would. And the thing is that like you do need, in every found footage movie, you need a reason to keep the camera on, right? And in Blair Witch, it's that they're making a documentary. In Wreck, it's because it's a TV crew and they're trying to get the story out. In Incantation, it's because they need you to see it. You know, that's part of the curse.
Also, in Wreck, it's the night vision that they're using.
Yes, yep.
Which is really fucking
Which
clever.
is very clever. And in Deadstream, it's because he's streaming, which is, again, another nice subversion of the trope. If you've not seen Deadstream, by the way, I heartily recommend that. That's a very good movie. Again, a very micro-budget thing, but a lot more fun.
But this film, the reason for filming is because he really wants to make porn.
It's because the reason they decided on it is because he's a cunt. And
well, she's like, I think I'm haunted, and he's like, well, if you think you're haunted, I want to like film it to get the evidence to prove.
Yeah, and he thinks it's cool.
Ghosts exist.
But up to a point, he thinks it's cool, and then he stops thinking it's cool. But the camera stays on, and at no point does she just break it, which is what I would have done about 3 days in.
To be fair,
just throw
I would
it
have
in
hit him in the dick with it until it's shattered. One or the other.
To be fair, the demon is making some weird decisions. The demon is making some weird.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh yeah, there's a demon. Demons want to hurt you and scare you and stuff. Like, the idea of a demon is to hurt you. That's the goal of a demon.
And it just slightly closes the door.
The demon's just pissing about for like a week.
What they do say about it, and what the ghost man says about it before he says, I can't help you, and then leaves the movie. What Exposition Man says is that demons are, this is fun for them, right? It's not that they're really
they feed on it.
Yeah, it's not that they're really, trying to kill you or do what they're trying to do. They just want to cause you sort of emotional distress. And so it's almost
like,
teasing them in a lot of ways. But then, once Mika starts escalating, then the demon starts escalating.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, this is all Mika's fault. And I'll say that. Mika,
know.
true villain of this movie.
I mean, he does sort of point out, like, hey, you could have mentioned this before we fucking signed a lease together.
Yeah.
Like, he is kind of trapped in that he's not made aware.
But
he's put in this situation.
Like, having spent 84 minutes with Mika, do you think if she'd said to him before they moved in, hey, just so you know, I'm occasionally haunted by a demon, do you feel like he would have taken that seriously?
Well, also,
would you,
this film,
if your partner was moving in with you and they just said, hey, listen, I am a little bit haunted, it's probably fine, but I'm a little bit haunted, would that, or would you just be like, oh, sure, okay, fine?
I'm going to be like, is this an excuse for you, like, not doing your washing up? It's like, oh, the demon. Oh, the demon,
the demon didn't do the laundry.
Demon got me. To be fair, she doesn't know she's haunted by a demon.
No, she just knows that weird stuff
really
has been happening her whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think she puts it together until, like, now. The funniest part of the film, I was giggling at it for like 10 minutes. And I don't know why I found it so fucking funny, but like when the demon starts doing stuff right at the beginning, and it's really like minor and unimportant, and she screams and she's like, did you move my keys?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's just like gently put on the floor. It's like, I don't know why I found that so funny. Because I wouldn't have even fucking noticed.
No,
I would have been like, oh, I must have dropped my keys.
I could walk down.
It's called trauma. Yeah. She's hypervigilant because
that's
she's
certainly
traumatized.
True. Yeah.
But I would have fully just been like, I probably dropped them and picked them back. Mm-hmm. I would be so irritated.
Well, if I was Mika, and
I'm so indecisive that she'd be like, "Did you put my keys on the floor?" I'm like,
probably,
well, maybe, I don't know.
I probably knocked him off. Sorry, but yeah, I could walk into my living room and every single book on my shelves could be in a different place, and I would not notice.
And it could spell out "die, Matt, die."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Did I do that? Did I do that? Was I rearranging the books?
He's so frustrating to haunt us because it would be like, I'm going to make him really scared. Just wouldn't fucking notice.
Yeah, trying to haunt someone with ADHD would be a real task.
And like the stuff you do notice,
you're like, oh no,
all
the plants have withered and died. And I'm like, yeah, but when did I
yeah.
That's not out of place. That's not unusual.
Do you know what you might notice though? Is like if you'd like set up your camera and you were recording this Ouija board, right? And then you were like, oh, I'm going to go through because it moved and I want to see what it spelled out. Do you think you'd notice it fucking bursting into flames, or would you just never mention?
Well,
it?
He does notice, doesn't he?
He's like, oh no, all he says is, look, the cursor moves around. It's trying to spell something out. He never.
Well, no, because he does. Because he sees when they get in, they see that it's burnt, right? He's like, oh no, this is burnt. You can see on the burn. There's a pattern here. Maybe I can figure it out. And she's like, what are you doing? This is.
I do feel like he's a dumbass cunt for bringing in a Ouija board. Like, it's just haunting 101.
To be fair, Ouija boards are made by Hasbro.
Yeah,
like it's not a
they're not a legitimate thing.
Super dangerous. Does it also matter?
Well, I don't know what Hasbro's ulterior motive is.
Can you imagine being like, I couldn't get a Ouija board,
Here's
but I got
Monopoly.
Yeah. Maybe the ghost, maybe the demon knows how to play Monopoly.
No, it's just one of those VTech like laptops for kids that help you learn your ABC.
I got Mouse Hunt.
Sheep for yes.
Or mouse,
cow for
mouse
no.
trap.
Yeah, they didn't have a Ouija board. I got a mouse trap.
Or just a
I got mouse trap and
doing a seance with a bop it. There's a spirit in this room trying to communicate with us. Would you please bop it? Twist it. I'm gonna give you one more try. If there's anyone here who wants to communicate with us, do it again, but better.
I forgot how sassy the Bop It game was.
Yeah, the Bop It game's so sassy.
We've already written a better movie than this.
Paranormal Boptivity.
Oh no, that just sounds like it's a Kids Bop sort of redo.
I think they should make Kids Bop versions of horror films.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Just,
that would
just
be.
kids in place of the people. In
Yeah,
this.
all of them. It's Bugsy Malone, but it's Hereditary.
Oh man,
You know?
I'd be
Midsummer, but it's all kids.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of getting
Once-
Blood
I
Eagle,
feel
they're
like
just going to
that's
pie
so
in the
much more-
face.
I feel like that's so much scarier.
Oh yeah, they
It's just
have
like,
to
we
jump off a
replaced all of
cliff
these horror
into a bouncy
characters
castle.
Yeah, exactly.
with children. So once you'd learned, so the idea that the demon haunts whatever, and like the angrier and more scared you are, the more powerful it gets.
Yes.
At that point, would you just be like, I'm just not going to let it affect me?
Well, I think instead of the Exorcist, you just hire a meditation coach.
Yeah.
These days,
Like,
you
just be zen.
you get a
like-
subscription to Headspace.
But at that point, it becomes passive aggressive psychological warfare with the demon.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's going to keep
I mean,
rearranging my furniture. I'm not going to bother. I'm going to thank it.
Have you guys seen the like comedy version of this, like A Haunted House? The
No.
one with
No.
Damon. I think it's Damon.
Is it a Wayans film?
Yeah. But there's a bit where he's just like sitting in the kitchen and the ghost trying to scare him, and all like every single drawer and cupboard just slams open at the same time, and he just doesn't even flinch because he's just like, yeah, he's just done.
Well,
Is
yeah.
he smoking
No,
a
but,
big joint? Because that'd be
But
Oh, it's
funny.
Marlon Wayans, that's the one.
It's
Yeah.
always
But, like,
funny
once
when
you find out-
one of a Wayans brother smokes a big joint and says "damn"
Yeah.
to a big monster. It's good when that
No,
happens.
but the bit that is funny is that the second that they think they're haunted, they're like, "Fuck this, we're moving out,"
Yeah.
and they just leave.
But yeah, once you know the demon's after like you being scared, just stop being scared. That's what it wants. It has no power.
Have you tried just not being scared? Have you tried just going for a
One-
walk?
But like once you're not scared,
Right, yeah,
it has no
yeah.
power. It can't do anything to you if you're not scared of it.
Here's the thing: is that being scared is
are
a
you
choice,
guys familiar
and
with
that
the
actually
poem Colonel Fazakal?
being haunted sounds like a you problem.
Yeah, looking at the ghost like demon like that sounds like a
I had a
you
friend that was
issue.
haunted, and they got over it with breathing exercises.
Yeah,
Actually,
they stayed calm. Actually,
have you tried CBT? Either version.
they'd meditate nightly.
Sorry, Helena, I cut you off.
You did, yeah. It's fine. I can handle it. So I mean, the reason I was kind of letting you is also that this is I'm not sure. It's not exactly embarrassing. It's just one of those little Helena's posh childhood moments.
Oh, great, Helena's.
So one of my favourite.
Is it about your haunted dolls?
No,
I had
no,
a
no,
pony
I'm gonna
once
bring
that
that
was
up.
Oh,
haunted.
shame.
It was
Yeah.
full of ghosts.
Small army of haunted China dolls.
Look, only some of them are haunted.
Yep.
No, it was about one of my favourite poems growing up.
Aha.
Mm.
That's right. You can have a
Which
favourite
was-
poem and not be posh.
No,
So
don't
the
worry, it'll
poem-
get there. It'll get there.
So the
You haven't been
poem's
introduced
called
to this yet. It'll get there.
the poem's called Colonel Fazakali Butterworth Toast.
Oh, okay. Well, that one, that one you can't.
Isn't that one of Phoebe from Friends' is like alter egos?
It's a
That's
great
an
poem. I'll
elaborate
read you a little
breakfast.
bit.
Please.
I do need to look it
That's
up. 'cause I
fine.
don't remember all of it.
Oh, I thought you had it ready.
Yeah,
We were
yeah.
just sitting
I'll
here
do
like-
I'll do a slam while we wait. The poem was actually called "Isn't it fun and relatable to have a lot of money and live in a big house?"
Isn't it funny to send books in a crate to the fucking summer home?
the villa.
The whole premise of the poem is that the colonel buys a house
Uh-huh.
that's haunted, and he's just not phased by the ghost at all
That's
until
good.
the ghost gets like really cross and leaves.
Yeah, just that's how you deal with ghosts.
But yeah, Colonel Fazakali Butterworth Toast bought an old castle complete with a ghost, but someone or other forgot to declare to Colonel Fazak that the spectre was there.
Illegal.
One evening,
That's a crime.
One evening, on the very first evening, while waiting to dine, the Colonel was taking a fine sherry wine when the ghost, with a furious flash and a flare, shot out of the chimney and shivered, "Beware!" Colonel Fazakli put down his glass and said, "My dear fellow, that's really first class." And it goes on and on like that. The ghost just gets more and more like every time
Yeah.
the ghost tries to do something scary, the Colonel just gets like just laughs. It
That's-
gets
that's
more
how
like
you
amused, and it's like, "That's fantastic. How'd you do it? Tell me
That's how you
everything."
handle the demon. Because it goes around slamming doors. I like that its first big scare tactic is I'll slam your bedroom door.
Yeah, well, that is
No,
spooky.
it doesn't even slam it. It slightly
Well, the
closes
first
it in
scare
the night.
is it
No.
opens it a little bit.
Yes,
Yeah.
but they don't notice that until they look at the footage afterwards.
It
Yeah.
slams it later though.
Mm.
Yeah.
At which point you go, oi, mate, you don't pay rent in this house.
I mean, at this point, I sleep with the door shut.
Yeah, don't go around slamming doors.
Just
yeah,
go
this
around
is the fucking curtains from the others again.
Yeah, just take away the doors.
You just take all the doors off.
What are you going to slam now, bitch?
Dumb fuck. Just insulting the ghost like, you dumb fuck.
Well, again, that's what Mika does. That doesn't he? Throughout the he does a
he's got that Ghost Adventures energy.
Yeah,
but he does it really aggressively. I mean, if
he
you're
really
just
tries
like
to
taking
alpha the ghost. He's like, I am a Sigma male, and you are a beta.
Yeah, he's very much like, I'm going to protect my girl. Fuck off. And it's like,
this is my house and my woman that I own. And you,
he does say like my woman a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's fucked. Do it, but not in an alpha way. Do it in a belittle the ghost kind of way.
Do it in a horny way. Just humiliate the ghost. Dom the ghost.
Oh, you want to watch us?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You want to watch
like
us
to
doing
slam
this?
doors, do you?
Ooh.
Is this what you want, ghost?
Yeah, you're a rude little ghost, and you deserve to be punished.
He likes slamming doors, don't you?
And the ghost is sat there just rocking back and forth. Like, well, I like it, but I don't know if I should like it. I'm supposed to be scary, but actually, I like it when people scare me. And,
Ghost is like, this is a bit
maybe
much.
I do like being told what to do. Why does it feel so weird?
Yeah.
This is a bit intense of a relationship for me.
The demon just is a cook. He just enjoys watching people get scared while he like watches from another room.
Yeah, that's all demons. It's good.
Yeah.
Just don't be afraid of them. It's real easy.
Yeah, all you've got to do, if you're haunted, is fin dom your ghosts.
Yeah.
And then you've paid your rent as well.
That'd be great. I don't know, how much do these ghosts earn?
I don't know. That
You
sounds
can't really take what isn't there.
that sounds like a joke.
Yeah.
But I can't think of a funny punchline.
But so yeah, this film is basically like scary things kind of happen. They're scared during the day, and then at night, scary things happen.
Yeah, well, and it is. It really is. It's not like there's escalating stakes, right? The hauntings get progressively more. You know, the door opens, then the door slams, and then the door slams, and there's a bit of a roar, and then.
And you hear running. And,
you might hear a footstep, and then there's a picture, and it's in the attic because that's where demons live. And
there's a shadow on the door, which is very obvious how they do it when you see them walk around the other side of the bed, and you see a convenient shadow on the door.
But the thing is that although the stakes raise with every consecutive thing, the plot spins its wheels, right? It's you know, oh no, I'd hate it if a spooky thing happened. Go to sleep, spooky thing happens, review the footage. Oh no, a spooky thing happened. Oh, I'd hate it if another spooky thing happened.
Yeah.
Rinse and repeat until one of them gets murdered.
And he's also he's weirdly anti that guy, and that just doesn't ring true either, where he's like, oh, he's a quack. But then he's like, okay, but now that stuff is actually
I've been doing my research.
Happening.
I've been doing my own research into demonology, and I know what I'm doing, but I won't call the professor of demonology because he's a quack, and none of that's real. My research is real.
Yeah.
It was not. I feel
but
like
that is a very.
This is almost baby's first horror movie, isn't it? In that it's like
very
it's
normal.
Are we spoiled now? Has it just been done in?
It is real normie shit. Well, I
this...
think that yes, I genuinely do think that. The found footage horror genre has been elevated so much and done in so many different ways that seeing one like this and like Blair Witch, but I don't know whether...
But Blair Witch is still terrifying and really effective.
Yeah.
I don't find it to be. But...
What?
I think
I should rewatch it. Maybe I've changed my mind.
I think the location of Blair Witch is a lot more frightening.
Yes, yeah, it is.
I think
Blair Witch is a better film.
Being trapped in
and
like
again,
an open wood is quite scary.
Yeah, and the thing is that stuff happens in Blair Witch, you know?
Yeah.
Again, the escalation is paired with, you know...
and there's more people. There's
moving around and characters developing and locations, right? It would be lovely to have another location. Oh,
yeah, I was sick of this house by the end of it.
To see another place in the world would be magical.
The only person that like escalates the story and progresses the story is the fucking demon which we can't see or interact with. Like that's the most frustrating part because it's like neither of these characters are doing anything to progress the story. The demonologist turns up and tries to progress the story and immediately gets kicked out.
He's like, "Oh, I'd love to progress the story, but the demon would hate it if I progressed the story, so I'm going to have to leave."
Not in this house. It's so annoying. But like the demon trying to scare them at night is objectively funny.
Yes, yeah, it is.
Because the implications
It's literally
of how...
things that go bump in the night.
And more than funny, though, I think it's not interesting.
No,
I had a
that's why
brief
it's so
chuckle
funny.
when she got pulled out of bed, and when Mika got thrown
Well,
at the camera.
that was genuinely a bit scary. Is when there's actually things happening, but there's only so many times you can literally have one of the stagehands like knock on the door.
And the thing is, they telegraph it because the camera fast forwards and it stops, and you go, oh, okay, well, something spooky's about to happen.
Okay,
and that kind of undercuts the tension that they're trying to build.
I still think like the funniest ones, because it has to start so small, because it escalates so slowly, that the early ones are so fucking funny because they're so like, why is the demon doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah, why does he just fart under her bed at one point?
Well, the demon turns the light on downstairs and then walks upstairs and pushes the door open.
And turns the light back on.
Yeah, but I mean, the cost of energy, man.
But then, like,
living crisis.
The demon...
No,
the
it was
demon
2007. They could have,
They were living it up.
Yeah.
But
they
the
left
demon
the
was
water
running...
running in the bathroom because it was easier than turning the tap off.
Yeah.
Back in
But
those
you heard
halcyon
the demon
days.
run away. That was the best part about that scene, is you heard the demon run away because it pushed the door open and then went...
Yeah.
Like, the implication that this demon isn't like an omnipresent incorporeal form, it's a physical form, it's just invisible somewhere in the house, is really funny because it's just standing around during the day not doing anything.
Yeah.
It's in one of the other bedrooms they never go into.
The
It's
idea
just
that it's just like really fucking bored.
Yeah, why did
during
they rent this house? It's massive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The demon's like decorating.
They needed the room for the demon.
Yeah. It's like you've got to leave room for the Holy Spirit, You've also got to leave room for demons.
For the demon.
But also, I think
like...
the reason they have it is that, again, Mika is alpha finance douchebag, right?
Yeah.
And it's a status thing.
Well, yeah, I like that they definitely didn't have his job be that in the beginning. They just got a really nice house and went, wait, how is a student and her like boyfriend affording this nice house?
Yeah.
But he needs a job that he doesn't need to go to. He needs a job he can stay at the house to, but also makes a shit ton of money to afford this massive house.
Yes. Yeah. Which has some crazy old ass technology in it. I forgot that we were still using like VHS cameras and CRT TVs in 2006 and 7.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's so bizarre. It's so weird watching this film back.
Isn't it?
And
yeah, it's a real culture shock when you see Mika's fucking frayed bootcut jeans. Like, oh, that's how we used to dress, huh?
That's a look.
Ooh,
Boot cuts
boy.
are coming back though, and flares. I've seen a lot of these young whippersnappers with.
Well, I like it. Oh, a wide leg trouser. I'm here for.
No,
flare.
I've been seeing the flares.
I've not seen any
flares
flares
that cover your entire shoe.
Okay.
Flares are fine if they're fashionable. The problem is back then they absolutely weren't, because the upper fit was also real loose.
The 2000s were a wild time. They were a time when nobody knew what fashion was. People looked at
low rise boot cut flares.
Yeah, people looked at Kevin Smith
weird.
and Christina Aguilera and they were like, "That's what we want our fashion to be."
Yeah. But I
and yet somehow now is when the mullet is coming back.
Yeah.
I don't mind
fair,
the fact in this film that she's quite normal looking. She's not stunning. She doesn't wear amazing clothes. Like, it is clearly just her
I
clothes
think they
that she's
do,
wearing.
to be fair to the film and the people who made it, both the actors do a great job.
Yeah.
I think they're both convincing.
I think they lose their convincingness once it starts to get properly scary. And they don't sound. They do a better job of sounding kind of annoyed and cross with each other than they did sounding like genuinely scared.
I think that's more to do with direction, though.
Yeah.
Because I feel like directing actors who haven't been in very much before this, and they weren't paid a lot. They were only paid like $500 each.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, they weren't originally paid that much. They made a lot when it released.
Really. I had to look at their IMDb's. They didn't really go on to do that much.
Yeah.
No.
But I think that's what helps the film. Like, this film would not have worked
that was
in the same way if it was like two big actors from 2007.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
it wouldn't have that same found footage realism.
Yeah, if it was
But-
like Cameron Diaz or something.
I feel like getting them to
Oh, God,
react to
imagine.
nothing would have been like a directing challenge.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's more on direction than the acting. Also, like, it's stupid the way the ghost is haunting them. Like, it's not scary, really. Them fucking waking up in the middle of the night and screaming at the floor because it walked through the flower
No, that is
was
scary.
so
That is
fucking
scary.
funny. That was
It's
so...
scary
'cause-
because it's not so much that they're coming to it's not so much that it's jump scary, but it's real. It's they're actually getting proof that something is happening. Like you can like excuse away so much of what has happened, like footsteps or whatever, the doors opening and closing, the funny noises,
Yeah.
but actual footprints in when you know you're the only two. You've not got a weird tri-forked toed dog running around the place.
No,
That's
exactly.
proof.
Like
That's
Yeah.
actual tangible
Yeah.
proof, and that's
To be
scary.
fair,
the
yeah.
only bit-
However,
yeah,
their reaction where they sat up in bed and screamed at it for like 5
Yeah, and I
minutes
think there's
was a bit weird.
I think
I don't
there
know,
is
what would
there's an
you-
argument
how,
to be made.
How would you react to proof of ghosts?
I probably wouldn't scream. I'd probably
Brave.
stand at it pretty... No, I'd just be quiet in case I was like, where the fuck is it? I wouldn't be like...
Oh yeah, because they are
"Look."
like, well, there's footsteps coming in, but there's no footsteps going out.
Yeah.
No, I didn't like that. I didn't like
Yeah.
that bit.
I think there's an argument to be made that it would be that there's sometimes stuff is more effective when you don't show it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And I think there was a point at which Katie could have been a lot more sort of shitty about it and just gone, look, I'm not having the camera in here anymore while we're asleep.
Yeah.
You don't do this. And he's like, all right, well, I'm going to do some other shit then, right? I'm not just leaving us with nothing. If we're going to have the cameras off, then I'm going to put some flour down. And then you wake up and the footprints are there. Right, but you don't
Yeah.
have to see them, and you don't have to do that whole thing where there's the brightness, and we bring it up, then you can see that there's a ghost there, and it's like that.
It
ruins
is
for
very
me.
Teletubbies the way that you have to see it.
You have to
You
see everything.
pretty much all the scary
Yeah.
bits twice.
And I think again, even with the Ouija board, right? If they had cut on the Ouija board, they go out, camera cuts, they come back in, and it's burnt, right?
Yeah.
And then they can go back in and they can see, But I think that would have been a more effective moment.
It would have been interesting if she did say at some point, I'm done, I don't want the camera anymore, get it out.
Yeah.
Get it, throw it away. And he just sort of kept filming secretly.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
And then you could have him like approaching her and being like, hey, I've still been filming, look what I found. And then that's when you can have the reveal that like the footprints and the ghost is actually, the demon is actually like a corporeal physical creature in the house that can interact with it. That's when you can show it and she can be like, oh shit, maybe we should keep the camera.
Yeah.
And that's when you get the demonologist in, and that's when like the story, the like...
Yeah,
he
and I
goes
think
through
I
and
would have
says,
had the
"She's haunted."
demonologist in. At that
Yeah.
point, I would have had another actor turn up and be like they do in Poltergeist, when the lady comes in.
Yeah.
And that's when it goes batshit insane, right?
Yeah.
I would have had the guy go in, and then you wouldn't even have to see it. If the camera got
Yeah.
knocked over, right, you heard like a roar or a bang or something, and the camera gets knocked over, and then, it cuts.
Well, even just
and
that
then-
tease of where you just see, like in Blair Witch, you just see them standing in the
Yeah.
corner, and the camera's at an angle, and like most of the last bits of Blair Witch, you don't even see clearly.
You
It's
could
so
also
effective.
you could also set up that the demon can, like the demonologist, if they brought someone in, that's when you can set up that the demon can manipulate people.
Yes,
Because it
yeah.
never does that until it does it to her.
Yeah, well, I mean, it does set it
be-
up a bit when she sort of
Stands at the
stands
edge
at
of
the
the
edge of bed, and then it comes a
rocks.
little bit
Yeah.
later when she says, I think we'll be okay now, and it's the double voices, which I also don't like, but at least it is, it is set up a little bit, that it can
Yeah,
control
but
her
I'd
to some
like-
extent.
And she smiles at the end.
Yeah.
Well,
But I'd like
she
it-
smiles.
She smiles,
when
and then
she's
her
saying
face
it'll
goes
be okay.
to be a demon at the end.
No, not that bit. But where she's saying, "Oh, we should stay, we should stay." I
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
stay,"
and
she
her
sort of
and
smiles.
there's like a little double voice in there.
Yeah. I'd like it if like there was like wider proof that it could control people, even if it was something that they didn't see. Like if they left the room, the camera was still running, and the demonologist got possessed or whatever.
Or like she just
And-
keeps turning the camera off. Like the demon doesn't like that the camera's on.
Yeah, she gets up and just
And
walks
like
over
he's
and
just
turns
got
it
all
off.
and like he's hidden it, but she knows, the demon knows where it is because he's been watching and she doesn't.
Yeah, well, and maybe they wake
Yeah.
up, one day, and the camera has
been moved.
But
or
he's
been
had to
turned
start,
off.
like, maybe he's put a different camera somewhere else, and he's run out
all
of
the
ball.
tapes have been destroyed. All the tapes that
He's got his
been-
own camera.
He's
got
have
his own
been
camera.
trashed, and then he's like, "Well, you did this," and she's like, I did not do this."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you imply that the demon knows what a camera is.
Well, I don't
But I
think
mean,
that's...
he's been watching them. I think that, the demon's not dumb.
No,
I don't
Just
know.
it's-
Did
It's
you
not
see
a
it
time
tried to
traveller.
scare them?
it's a
Did you
demon.
see the way it tried to scare them? It closed a door and turned a light on. Like,
but
it's
but
not
it
that
worked,
clever.
right? They were scared.
Yeah, because they're idiots.
Yeah, but that's fine. But that doesn't mean that the demon knows how to scare an idiot, at the very least.
Demon was like, this is easy. Demon was like, oh, they have to do so much more to scare people.
Yeah, it's like
Oh,
by this
man.
point, I'm normally like, screaming and setting stuff on fire and
Yeah.
killing
What do you do?
pets.
Yeah, what do
no,
you do?
these guys,
Turn
I
the
can
light
move
on.
a door, and he's like bragging
shit
down the
themselves.
pub with his other demon mates about like what they've been up to get the big.
They are
screams.
the most observant people I've ever haunted. I dropped her keys on the floor. She freaked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't even know I did that. I forgot.
Yeah, that was an accident.
That was just my tail. It just knocked
That-
the cupboard.
That might not have been me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she did that.
I don't think she's in a great relationship, guys. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm. I feel like
Yeah, I'm actually getting a bit worried about her. I should like.
I feel like I want to
is
say
it
something,
okay if I
but I don't feel
put
like
a
that's my
wedge?
place.
Just at night, the demon's downstairs on the. That's why the light turned on. The demon was sat on the.
The
sofa,
demon's on the
like,
phone
kicking his
to
legs
Katie's
back on
friend
the
who, from the first bit, being like, "Listen, I don't think this Mika's right for her."
Yeah, it's like
That
twiddling.
friend
the-
is very hostile to Mika.
But
But
wouldn't
that
you
is-
be if you were a friend of Katie?
Yeah, no, absolutely. She's on the
Or
money.
just knew Mika.
Yeah, or had just met that
Or-
guy one time.
What if instead Mika the singer?
Yeah.
Poor little soul, poor innocent soul, need to be saved.
Think how much
from the
higher
demon.
screams you get if Mika the singer was there.
But also the demons is really pissed off all the time because it keeps on having like tunes stuck in
Yeah.
its head. It's like trying to sound all grouchy and evil, but it's going like.
The other song I was thinking of is the bit where Katie gets out of bed and is just like standing there.
Yeah.
And it's just that, but to Stop and Stare by One Republic.
And again, the fact that it's sped up, and I understand, right, the
Well, it would be a very fucking boring film if it wasn't.
yes, but it's a boring film anyway, and
Paranormal Activity, but in
when
real
they
time.
speed it up, it just looks funny because she's kind of swaying back and forth very, very fast.
Yeah.
Do you think that's an
I think
effect, or do you
it's-
think she genuinely just stood there for 2 hours
I think it was
she
more
stood
like
there
10
for
minutes.
like 10
and
minutes.
they just
and
sped it
looped
up
Yeah.
and called it 2 hours?
Or they looped it.
It's one of those ones where I feel like that scene was effective maybe the first time you see it.
Well, that's
in
the
that
thing,
You're
the
not,
first-
she gets up and she stands up, and you're expecting something to happen, and it does that thing where it builds up the tension and builds up the tension because you're like, okay, she's standing over him. What's she going to do? Is she going to suffocate him? Is she going to stab him? Is there a knife? Like, what's happening? And then she gets back into bed, and you're like, okay, shit, what's happened? That's not broken the tension because she's not really done anything. So you're still like, okay, now we know a little bit more of what the demon's capable of making her do.
Yeah,
But it's
stand
not
up.
done the thing, so we're still like
Yeah.
pent up
And
about
I
it.
think and I said that when I reviewed it on Letterboxd, that I think it's a film you can watch once,
Yeah,
and after
yeah,
that
this
it
film
stops
goes
being
well
which is
with the
terrible
review.
for this premise.
worth watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, and I think
Well-
I don't even think that these days it's worth watching once because
Yeah,
there's
no, not
so
really.
many other, and I mean even back then, even back in the day, stuff like The Legend of Boggy Creek from the 70s, and Man Bites Dog and Blair Witch in the 90s, and even Wreck and the Poughkeepsie tapes and Lake Mungo, which were all released around 2007, 2008, 2009, I think. Even Cloverfield was 2008, and I hate the movie.
That was 2008, yeah.
I hate the movie
Yeah.
Cloverfield, but it is at least more interesting than
It's way better made.
Paranormal Activity. Well, of course, it's way
Yeah.
better made. It's it was it cost 30 million, and
Well, it's also like better directed.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's way better directed. It feels like they actually thought
Yeah,
about it.
it wasn't an
whereas with this
Abrams film, was it? Cloverfield. Who did
No.
that?
Yeah, it's J.J. Abrams, yeah. It is J.J.
Is it
No, I
from
think
J.J.
he
Abrams? I thought
produced
was
it.
later.
Oh, I think he produced it, yeah.
Was it,
I think the worst thing about that
was it
film
Matt
is
Reeves?
T.J. Miller.
Who directed
I'm not too
it?
sure, actually, who directed it. I thought it was
T.J.
J.J.
Miller
Abrams, but maybe it is.
ruined that
yeah.
movie for me because the creatures are great
Yeah.
and the setting's cool, but that man does not shut up. And I hated every character, but I really hated.
Oh yeah, it was
Tito
directed
Miller.
by Matt Reeves.
Hey, I did it.
He did the best Batman movie, second best Batman movie.
What's the best Batman movie, Dan?
Dark Knight, obviously.
Okay.
I'm a straight white guy.
So,
Batman 1989.
Yeah.
The one.
Batman 89, I think, is maybe my
Or the one with
second
Danny DeVito.
favourite after Batman
Yeah.
and Robin.
Yeah. The worst thing about Cloverfield was, so the sequel was, 10
Wait.
Cloverfield Lane was great and would have been better if
I
you
have
didn't
heard
know the Cloverfield movie.
Cloverfield Lane was good.
It's good, but the Cloverfield paradox was just like, oh, they had this movie concept and decided to slap Cloverfield on it, and it was just shit.
That's how you
like,
sell films.
There were so many good kind of premises as to how Cloverfield was going to go from the first one.
Yeah.
And then it just went nowhere, to the point of, like, they even went to A Quiet Place and were like, hey, do you want this to be in the
This to
Cloverfield
be a
universe? And they
Cloverfield.
were like, no.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that they said no,
Yeah.
because I was disappointed, because I enjoyed the first Cloverfield. So, anyway, sorry, I went on a
Yes,
tangent.
but my point is, I suppose, that
Can we get back to
when I came
Batman?
out of the rewatch of this, I was like, oh, this was probably interesting back in 2009 because, there wasn't quite so much the breadth and people hadn't done stuff like, I want to say Inscription, but that's a video game. Incantation,
Yeah.
and Deadstream, and, all of these, well, again, I had 4 or 5
Troll
examples.
Hunters.
And I can't think of any now off the top of my head, but
It feels like it started something,
But it didn't,
But
because-
doesn't mean it's not the it's not. But I
went
guess what
back
it
and I
is
did
it
some-
repopularized it
Yes.
the same way like Twilight
Yeah.
and all these films. Like it'll bring out suddenly there's a shit ton of vampire movies. Suddenly there's
Yeah, and
a
to be
shit ton
fair-
of, comic book movies. They all sort of
yes, and It and Blair Witch are the ones that you remember, And if you are a bit of a film nerd like I am and you do research after you watch a movie, I go back and I go, oh, no, wait, I have seen Man Bites Dog, and I have seen the Poughkeepsie tapes, and I have seen, Boggy Creek, and although it's not a good movie, I would say, I have seen Cannibal Holocaust. And all of those films are older and more interesting, and they're found footage, and they were doing stuff with found footage that was
I think-
more,
so this it basically had better PR.
the genre had moved on
I think
before,
it
before this was released, but this was a
think
moment in
this-
film history, certainly.
Yeah, I think this is less about it being a found footage film that was successful, more about it being a low budget film that was
Yes,
successful.
well, and also
is,
a
like,
horror film that was successful.
90%. Yeah, but like, I feel like after this film happened, there was a sort of like every film had to look and feel low budget, even if it wasn't.
Yeah.
There was like a time period where it was like suddenly film had to feel independent, which was really cool because it meant that a lot of independent films were getting a lot of attention.
Yes.
Because you had like the Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, you had like the era of that guy. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, well, and
Michael Cera.
Mumblecore became popular sort of around that time.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were doing a lot of cheap movies. When was 28 Days Later?
Oh, that was way
That's a bit earlier.
Was that
that
earlier?
was like a completely different.
Because that's not, obviously
kind
that's
of
not
film.
found footage, but it is a similar thing in that it's deliberately shot
Was that-
on
Yeah, that was
cheap
because
cameras, and they
That
did
was
it all kind of
2002.
on the run.
That wasn't just because it was cheap cameras. That was the first film shot on digital camera.
Oh, was it? Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that was one of the first feature films shot on digital.
Uh-huh. Which is why it
Except
looks like
for
a home
the-
movie.
Yeah, except for the last couple shots they were shot on film.
Right, okay.
Has anyone else lost like quite a few years of their childhood photos because they were just suddenly, instead of really nice developed on the posh family camera,
No,
my
because
dad
you had
bought
a
like
posh
a
family camera.
well, my parents had a reusable camera rather than a
Yeah.
disposable camera for
Yeah.
a bit. And all those photos were really nice, and then it just stops. And my parents got a video camera with like digital video camera, and its stills that it took were literally like 5
Oh
pictures.
no.
Yeah.
I miss the days when we'd all gather in front of the family portrait portrait painter
Yeah. Yeah.
in our Sunday
Look, I've had
best.
two portraits painted, so screw you.
Yeah.
Not even joking.
I actually
just
lost
at the
my childhood photos because of a house fire, and then I found them in the attic a while later.
I think that's nice. You got something back. You didn't lose everything.
Found them in the attic. Sorry, yeah. What I heard there was and then I found the attic a while later. It's like,
Yeah, you know
found
you're
the
boss
attic.
when you've got a room
No,
you never knew about.
yeah.
No, I found my burnt childhood photos a bit later, and then,
That was
And then
so
it didn't
weird.
go
wasn't
anywhere.
it?
You've heard
That
Mac's
film.
haunted basement story, right? Has he told that story on the podcast?
No.
So
I don't think so.
Mac's family home has a basement in it that you can't get into.
Full of ghosts, that's why.
But if you look through,
Rammed
there's a
with
little
ghosts
window
to the
that,
brim.
goes outside.
Is it sealed by a priest?
I don't know, but you can't get in. And if you look through the outside, the window that's like, those little windows like they have at the bottom of the house. If you look through
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
the room's completely empty apart from a wardrobe in the middle.
Oh, nice. That's
that's a
Narnia.
Narnia.
That's
That's
the
a
wardrobe that
curse
we
Narnia.
made.
Also, is this house in Ireland?
Yes,
Yeah, no, sealed by a priest.
sealed by a priest.
Yeah, hands down, sealed by a priest if it's in Ireland. And they were
All
like,
of
no,
Ireland was
stay
sealed
away
by a priest.
Yeah.
Because the Irish are all
Oh,
ghosts.
fuck, that, I wanna,
and that's
I
the
wanna kick that
opinion
door
of this
open.
podcast.
Yeah. I want to get in there now. I want to see what's up with that wardrobe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wanna
that's
see what's
okay.
up with
I know
those
what we're
Irish.
doing for Patreon.
Yeah.
For Patreon, we're getting flight tickets to go to Mac's
To
house.
Mac's house.
And we're getting a
Record
hammer. So we
record
can
an
get
episode in the haunted basement.
Yeah.
Did I tell you about the strange light that was coming through the loft hatch in my house?
No, we're doing haunted house. Of course, we're doing haunted house stories.
So
I was like, wow,
Weird,
what a tangent. No, this is
yeah,
pretty
ages ago, I noticed that. So my bedroom was on the top floor, and there was a hatch. We have like an attic, but it's not a space we'd ever use. You couldn't even really use it for storage because it's the roof on the terrace was one of those ones that goes like in like the opposite of a normal roof. It starts high and goes low.
Yeah.
Helpfully for the podcast listeners, I'm using my hands to demonstrate.
Yeah.
We love a
No, it's
visual
not.
cue on a podcast.
It's like the M in the YMCA.
Yeah, it is. So we never used it. It wasn't like I was ever sent up to the loft to get stuff or whatever.
The haunted loft. Go to the haunted loft.
And
If you
then
don't
once-
behave,
one
we'll send you to
time-
the ghost loft.
Yeah.
Well, it started glowing. Like there was light coming out of the little cracks around the door, and I was
Oh,
like, "What the
That
fuck
isn't a
is going
ghost
on?"
loft. That's heaven. Also,
Yeah, there was
by
just
the
like
way-
angels singing in harmony in the
Yeah.
background.
by the way, Helen,
Yeah, no,
this
it turns
doesn't-
out my parents had installed a skylight and just never told me.
Ah.
But it was so like I didn't really go up there until like in the day much. I think because it happened in the winter. So for a good few months after we'd had the roof, we had to have the roof repaired because a bunch of kids stole some lead. Thanks, guys. And they were told, "Oh, it's a good idea to put a skylight in."
Yeah, and child spikes in case they come back.
By the way,
Exactly. Spikes made of children.
They'll not get our lead.
big fan that I went from Helena's haunted house story to Helena's posh childhood story. I like the transition.
Look, kids stealing lead.
The idea that you had an attic big enough to put a skylight in it.
Well, it wasn't like to make it a functional room. It was just so that you could get some light and like ventilate it if you needed to, if there was another leak and stuff.
When I lived when my family lived in Cornwall, I didn't live there, but my mum and sisters moved into like a deceased estate, a bungalow that the old lady had died in. There wasn't a ghost, as far as I know, but this is a loft conversion story now. They moved into a bungalow,
Oh, yeah.
but there wasn't enough bedrooms for all of my sisters. So when they'd sort of grown up enough, and the two youngest that were sharing a room were both in secondary school and so on, they put. Mum was like, well, we'll convert the loft and we'll make that into a bedroom for one of them. So they put like a little wooden, regular, permanent ladder in,
Yeah,
and
like a really steep staircase.
yeah,
kind of
exactly,
ladder.
and then put some carpet down and put some, insulation and rendered the roof and so on and made it into a room. But the thing about it was that you had to go around it on your knees because it wasn't tall enough to stand up in.
That sounds like one of the
Wow.
houses I rented at uni.
And it was not, it was
My,
a nicely done room. It was just 3 feet high.
Just that's very funny.
Perfect for ghosts.
The house I rented in a uni, I only saw pictures of because I couldn't make the view, and we took some photos, and we were like, "Oh yeah, this is fine." I think we all sort of thought we were going to have one of the nice downstairs bedrooms, but that left the two sort of upstairs
Right,
bedrooms.
yeah.
And I could stand up in approximately a fifth of the room. Turns out isn't enough. And it was a very steep. It was a attic room, so it was just very steep. It didn't have like a lot of them now have like a cutout, like a dormer thing, so that, you know, you can stand up. And mine didn't. It just had skylights. And I hit my head on the ceiling so many times. And like it was so bad for like not my mental health, but like my motivation to go to university classes. Like night, you know, getting up at 8 a.m. to go to United.
Brain yourself.
First thing you do is brain yourself, and you're like, you know
fall
what?
Back into bed, and you're like, well, guess I'm not.
I'm not up for Russian grammar anymore.
The pony's blocking the door again. I guess I'm staying in bed.
I asked to switch with my butler, but he wouldn't let me.
There it is.
Helena said she's posh. I've been down. No, what are we? Hang on, where we see the scores? What are you giving Paranormal Activity out of 10?
I am giving this movie, on balance, I'm probably going to go back to Letterboxd. I am giving this movie 3 out of 10 toxic relationships that you don't want to be haunted in.
I'm going to give it 4 Teletubby again clips that we have to watch twice. Yeah, it was like the first time to demonstrate that they'd seen it, fine, but they did it with like every clip. It was like, okay, I get it now. You're watching the tapes back.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give this 3 haunted probiotic yogurts out of 10, which is Paranormal Activia. That's my one joke for this.
Very good. Oh, you should. I don't want to. I'm going to plug another podcast that's not mine on this show, but tweet that at the Dream Factory on Twitter, because they're always.
Shit, that sounds.
They
sounds
do.
Like a plan.
They make people send them in joke movie names, like pun movie names, and then they write the movie.
That sounds. Like
so just tweet at the Dream Factory pod Paranormal Activia. They'll know what you mean.
Yeah. Sounds good.
This would be great if you were just setting us up to really like confuse one of your mates.
Yes.
They're like, that's not something they do at all, and they're just like, thanks.
Just tweet at macaroni stew.
and then they just message you like, did Matt send you?
If you're listening to this right now, everybody tweet at macaroni stew. Hey, brush your teeth once in a while. It's an inside joke. You'll really find it funny.
Yeah. Sounds it.
It just cuts to Mac like crying in the bathroom.
I think I'd give us 3 passive attempts of the ghost trying to scare someone by walking up some stairs. Out of 10. 3 shitty attempts to try and scare
3 big spooky footsteps.
3 big.
That did scare my childhood friend that came over for that one sleepover. Pretty sure the only sleepover she went to.
Did you show her Paranormal?
What, when
Activity?
a ghost came up the stairs?
Was it
yeah, and for some reason she was really upset.
When the family ghost appeared.
So
you would
we
have a
heard
family ghost.
that my mum was obviously climbing up the stairs. I grew up in a really old house, so it's like creaky as fuck. And she was like, "What's that sound? What's that sound?" She was really like freaking herself out or whatever. And I was just like, "Oh, it's a crocodile coming upstairs to eat us."
Classic kid stuff.
And she cried so much she had to go home.
Oh, that's funny.
Nice.
I think I was 6 and she was 4.
And you learned an important lesson that day, which was that friend was a little bitch.
Yeah,
and the crocodiles can't climb stairs.
I think a crocodile could climb some stairs. I think it would look adorable doing it, but I reckon it could get up there.
Terrifying.
It would just hit its nose, hit its snout on the steps.
It was just its little legs like flip, flip, flop, flip, flop, flip, flop. Just coasting up.
It could
very
go
slowly.
Downstairs well, but upstairs.
You could ride a crocodile down some stairs real good.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be happy about it. Yeah.
No, I think you could
get to the end. Stopping is the danger.
After the first one, but I think you'd get 4 or 5 uses out of the crocodile before it was unrideable.
We did have a stuffed alligator at home actually, so maybe haunted ghost, the ghost
Haunted
of
by
alligator.
a crocodile.
There's only a baby one.
Easier to kill.
Yeah. I know how you stop being afraid of like ghostly footprints walking around your house. Get a pet. You stop noticing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone could break into my house and rob me in my sleep, and I just assume it was the dog kicking off. Like, Max, shut up! I'm trying to sleep, and the dog while the dog's like chewing at the leg of a burglar.
Yeah, but like we can have a ghost wandering around the house. I'd just be like, yeah, that's a dog.
Yeah.
So there was a load of footsteps running upstairs. I'd be like, Dora.
Yeah.
she ran upstairs for some reason. Oh, well. Yeah, that's how you do. Anyway, yeah, no, 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's not a good film. Don't
Don't watch it, no.
Yeah.
I tell you what it has done for me, though.
Watch all the sequels.
Yeah,
they're
it's
great.
made me want to watch the sequels, and it's made me want to watch better found footage movies. It's made me want to go back
Yeah.
and revisit Deadstream and the Borderlands and, to a lesser extent, Unfriended.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
that film.
Unfriended is so funny.
Unfriended's great. It's just, yeah, it's not a good
It's-
movie, but it is at least amusing, which this film
Yeah.
was not.
No. And then there's Unfriended 2, which is a completely different premise.
I
So
haven't
the
seen
first
the sequel.
Unfriended is like it's
Skype.
It's
the dead
Yeah.
Skype.
yeah, but like it's supernatural, or is that the one that's not?
No, I
supernatural?
think that one is supernatural. Isn't Unfriended? Maybe I'm thinking about a different movie. The one I'm
'Cause
thinking
there's
of is the one where they do like the Zoom exorcism, and then the ghost is in the the demons in the internet.
I think so. Yeah.
Is that
But
Unfriended?
one of them's
I can't remember.
No,
One of
what was the
them's-
what was the other one with the app that kills you?
there's loads of them. There's a lot
yeah.
of them.
Was that Truth or
Black
Dare?
Mirror.
There's been a big thing recently of what if ghosts was the internet is the point.
Yeah, but like Unfriended 1, I think is supernatural. Unfriended 2 is specifically not
Right,
supernatural.
okay.
Oh, is it just like a
it-
murderer?
It's so strange where they're like it's dark web.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, no,
Um,
I think I know the plot
yeah.
to Unfriended 2, even though I've never seen it. And it's, yeah,
Because
doesn't sound
because
like
it's called
fun,
like
really.
it's called like the dark web, but they never call it the dark web
Yeah,
in the film. They clearly named it after they like
right,
made the film.
right, yeah.
They keep calling it like the dark internet or something. And it's like, oh, they changed the name of the film, didn't
Yeah,
they?
the spooky websites.
Yeah.
Oh no, don't go on the
But-
spooky websites.
Don't go on the evil internet.
Yeah.
That's what it
Just
is.
typing in
Um,
hell.com like they do in Mission
Yeah.
Impossible 1, a film that
Yeah.
uses the internet hilariously.
Yeah, go watch better films.
Go watch that's
Go
the
watch all
point.
of the
Use this
sequels.
film as inspiration to go and watch better ones, but don't make the mistake that we did of watching this one first. Just
Yeah.
go watch better movies.
Watch- Watch the sequels when they get batshit, because they get batshit.
Do you need to
And
have
they're
watched
enjoyable.
the first one to
No.
know what's going on in the second?
No, the film, the sequels to the film literally explain why the first film exists.
Right, okay, cool.
The sequels happen. Some of them happen before the first film.
Well, I think if only there was a word for a sequel that actually happens before the events of the first movie.
No, some of them.
We'll never know.
Half of them,
Unfortunately,
half
there
of them
isn't,
happen
so I have to
afterwards.
say a whole sentence.
Oh no, it's not a prequel. It starts after the events of the first film, and they travel back in time
Aha.
to the events
Do
of the
they do it
first
in a
film.
hot
That's what I really felt was missing from Paranormal Activity, time travel.
Can we get Paranormal Activity 7 Hot Tub Time Machine?
That it's not
Men
a
in Black.
prequel.
Yeah.
22 Jump Street, Paranormal Activity.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Battlestar Galactica. Office reference.
And then they made more. If you don't mind, that's called Doctor Who. Anyway, we should start. We should probably outro this.
Let's start to wrap this up. Yeah,
Yeah.
go watch some better movies. I've been Dan.
I've been Michael.
I've been Helena.
And I've also been here.
Matt,
Yeah.
where can people find you? Do you by any chance have a shiny new podcast?
I do have a shiny new podcast. It's called What the Flick, and it's very good, and you should all go and listen to it right now. And subscribe and give it 5 stars on all of the podcast apps. Just make several accounts and give it 5 stars.
Yeah.
It's just released. We have got episodes coming out, weekly, every Monday, I think it drops, where we don't watch movies, but we do tell you what happens in them. We take a different famous movie every week that neither me or Mac have seen, and then we try and work out what it's about based only on the poster. And then we see how close we got at the end of the show.
Sounds
So do you watch the
fun.
film at the end of the show, or do you look it
Oh
up?
no! God, what do you think? I haven't got time to be watching movies. No, we just Mac reads the the plot synopsis on IMDb, and we spoil it for ourselves, so we can never go back. And then after reading the plot synopsis out loud, we'd say how shit it was, and that ours was much better.
Yeah.
And then we all go about our business.
So it's the pointless reinvention of films.
Sure, yeah. So the first three are out at the moment. We made a better Citizen Kane, a better Dead Poet Society, and a better 12 Angry Men.
And
Nice.
what's your Instagram, Twitter?
Those are all at FlickPod69 on all of the socials.
Nice.
You can find me at Matt's Music House on everything. I also stream on Twitch, make music. I've started watching bootleg terrible musical theatre shows on Twitch now. We watched Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, which was a wild
nice.
ride, and we watched the King Kong, and we'll be watching, various bootleg of terrible cancelled musical theatre shows, which is always a fun time. And I do some critical analysis because I am a musician, and I also just shout a lot about how silly they all are. That's about it.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Send me a tenner on
thanks for joining.
PayPal.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't bloody
well,
mind.
You can find this podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Hilton Pod. That's at HILTM Pod. We're on Discord as well, so you can come and tell us all of your loft conversion stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
yeah.
In fact, let's
that's-
let's walk back because Mac's teeth are great. He's perfect teeth. He's always had them. Instead, at Macaroni Stew on Twitter, and tell him your loft conversion stories.
Yes. And we also have a Patreon where you can support the
Hooray.
show.
We do have a
And
Patreon.
I mean,
Are we gonna convert a
Are
loft?
we just?
No, I know what we're gonna do. We've
Are
already
we going
said
to Mac's haunted
we're
basement?
gonna go to Mac's house and get in that wardrobe.
And wait for
the
it.
next episode. The next
We
time
gonna
you
get
hear an
in that
episode with us, with like Mac and Matt on it, we'll
be in the wardrobe.
We're gonna
recording
be
it.
in the wardrobe.
with one mic. It'll be
Yeah, me.
Yeah.
one mic, 5 podcast hosts.
Yeah.
That's the new pay-per-view only on Patreon.
I can smell that already.
Right, cool. Can I try and improvise a sign off, and then that you guys can use it? That you could just pop this at the end of. I say this with literally no ideas. I want to make that very clear. And I'm now padding for time while I desperately think of something. Yes, I am. When did we stop recording? At what point was there anything even approaching a sign off there? Hey, thanks for listening, everybody, and remember that was a movie. We're pretty groovy. Now go have a smoothie. Good night, you rascals. I feel like I've nailed that.